Okay, now to start these holes. The first thing is to have a good punch with a good broad short point. You don't want to really start with an awl. You can. I mean, these have very similar, but this one you can hit with a hammer. This one, not so good idea. You'll end up driving this all into this wood. And being it's so short, I can't remember, but that's either that's what happened or it's so old and sharpened so often, the point's almost gone. So the first one, this is my reference hole. And you want this to be fairly broad. Measure down 6.5 inches. And you do this again. Now I've gone ahead and already done these. However, this one, as you can see, is off just a little bit. That really is not so good. So one reason this is short and broad is you can put it where it belongs, and you'll have to pull on it and keep working until you get it correct. Well, this thing's being stubborn. And then keep driving until you've got it centered. And it might take a while. But now, the idea is to have a good round circle right where you need it. Okay, off to the drill. Okay, here's the drill press, and this is the really nifty tool to make sure everything's lined up. You can use coat hanger. This is a chunk of welding rod. Okay, the first thing I want to do is get my table more or less squared up. And by turning this, we get a very wide sweep. And front, it's pretty close. Now, with the stock. Okay, part of this, you'll have to, this is where the stock will sit. And we need to get this stock, of course, square to where my drill is coming out. And of course I set down my wedge. Here's the stock, and since the bottom here is not square, it's not straight, it's nothing to do with this, we'll have to make up a little bit. First is a wedge. Have to pick this up, and this will fit on this side. Have a block that gets pretty close. Then these are from Home Depot or Lowe's or any of the hardware stores. They all sell, and these are wedges. Put them close together. Excuse me, I think allergies are catching up with me. You got thick, down here is pretty thin. That's how we're going to adjust the height here. The first thing, well, let's locate it. Well, obviously this is not going to work too well. I got it too high. So I'll have to okay, now this is a little closer. First, now I want to mark and you want to mark both sides. That way you know how to locate. As this way. And by doing both ends, we'll know how to slide it back and forth. Okay, well. By the way, that's just a 1/4 inch drill, since all the other stuff, that's the size they are. Now my alignment squaring tool. Let's put everything back. Now normally I do this on my mill. It's already, everything's, I got big heavy vise. I don't really have to do this. But I figured not everybody has a mill in their shop. So we'll go back and I'll do it on the drill. And if all you have is a hand drill, I'd recommend taking it to someone or someplace that has the proper tools, because this is important. I can hear it. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but you can hear that rubbing. And that's a little hard. So okay, hear that rub? And that still just a little on the rough side. Yeah, well that's why I moved off the mark. Okay, so I guess I have to kind of go back to square one now. Okay, that rubs. That just barely rubs. So, that. Okay, so we got it. So now we have to put reference lines to everything. Here. So I know where to line this up. Then I need to do the same thing here, and that tells me how to align all this stuff up. You just put X's, well, wherever you want to. Okay, and what you can't see is right here, and that tells me how far to put these apart. You just take a pencil line, run it straight, and with the gaps gone, we've got it in the right place. Okay, now I'm going to go tape all this up. I just use masking tape. So I'll be right back. Now, of course, in the middle of taping that up, I realized I'd forgotten to flatten the bottom of this. I still have my marks, so I can go back and square them up. You can see the lines from the last one. So now we'll do that to here. First, make sure I'm doing the right place. So that's about where I need to flatten it. It's just a tad high this side. But one other thing, this has a lot of ripples that I need to get out first. And yes, you could do this on your joiner, I suppose, and just do the whole thing. Well, still have the same slant this side high, but well, at least it's smooth. Getting down there. Now the biggest part I'm trying to resist is getting too much taken off of a little band here and end up with a bulge in the middle. Getting closer. Boy, this wood has a real penchant for tear out. I just did that with the plane. I believe that's pretty much got it. Well, I can do it a little better. Am I even getting on the right area? Yep. Be kind of embarrassing having my marks here and I'm doing all my work here and it's being recorded. Alrighty, that pretty much got it. And in this area, we're good to go. So let me mark. Got from here to about here. That means anywhere from here to here, we're good to go. Alright, back to the drill. Okay, here it is all taped up, and I'm just going to use a common everyday 1/4 inch drill. Looks like must have been doing some aluminum since some of it's still stuck on there. I think it just knocked off this black stuff that they coat them with. It is a sharp drill. If you don't know how to sharpen them, just go ahead and buy a clean new one. You want to make sure it's sharp. You also want to double check and make sure the angles. One trick is to hold it up to a light, make sure the flutes, the edges are this way, and put your thumbnail on top of it and just have a look. Make sure that this is centered. Alright, that looks pretty straight. And yes, I suppose I probably could hold it, but why risk it? Okay, now we're going to go very slowly, carefully. One thing about a drill, drills just put holes that are about the size the bit is. Drills are not very good at making straight lines. It can even be an oval shaped hole. Well, these are some of the worst ways. If you want a really accurate round hole, you use a reamer. Now, that doesn't mean the hole's going to be straight, but if it's a 0.245, it'll be 0.245 inches in diameter. It may be a little dish-shaped, but, well, that's the way it goes. If you want a true straight hole, you have to put it in a boring machine and use a boring bar. That's the only way to get one that's straight and to the correct size. However, if we're very careful, the little bit this is off, you won't have to worry about it. We're also going to do a lot of chip clearing. And I'm just a tad off. I think that's got it. Take your time, don't get in a hurry. And that's as far down as my drill goes. That should be the same length. And that means I'm now somewhere here. So when I cut this out, somewhere near this line, that hole will show up. So let's do the next one. We removed the tape, and all we did is, well, this is the side with the marks on it, so flip it over. But you probably figured that out yourself. Okay, now we go back to the bench and see how close I got them. Well, as you can see, there's an extra hole here. When I went from the drill press and picked this up, I got to about here and realized that there's something funny going on. And of course what I had done is use a tape measure rather than calipers. And since I started at the 1 inch and trying to remember I'm actually talking to a camera, ended up an inch off. So since this is going to include warts and all, here's the first one. And thankfully, it's not really going to cause much trouble. As you can see, it'll fit inside the magazine here. So every once in a while you luck out. Okay, now we're going to start laying out our channel. You guys that want to use the routers or table saw, Dremels, you can do that in a little bit, but first do this layout part. It's really important, and that includes scribing the outside so that this grain on the top actually gets cut. And you want to do that with a sharp knife. I'll get to that in a moment. When you do that, you'll have a less chance of a breakout. As you can see, this is some pretty highly figured wood. It's going to want to tear, it'll want to break, it'll give you all kinds of headaches. So if you do a little bit of preparation in the beginning, you'll save yourself a lot of headaches later on. So, next step. Let's go back and start putting in our receiver.